So you said that you're a server. So I was recently thinking about servers have to cash out at the end of the night, correct? So I guess you go to your manager and you, whatever your receipts were, the receivables have to be the same. So do you kind of do that in your own life too? Do you kind of cash out at the end of the day or the end of the week to see, did I meet what I was supposed to do?
Every week I do my best. I'll write out my goals for this. I have a week to do these things that I need to cash out on, whether it be school stuff. And then obviously work, I don't even write that down because I just do it anyway. But there's certain goals that I need, like I need to edit 3 chapters of my book this week. I need to, make a YouTube video this week. And so at the, it's right, it's a daily thing, it's a weekly thing, but I do end up having to cash out because if I don't, and I notice that when I don't do that, when I don't put that, chart on my wall and I look at it every morning and I'm not checking things off, I really feel like I'm just spinning my wheels.
So I know that you've probably had some failures in your life. I think that we all do. So how do you feel about failures? What are your thoughts on failures?
Well, let's just say that the thoughts about failures have changed over the course of the last couple of years. When I first failed, so to speak, it was after I had won the competition, and I was flying back from Orlando, Florida, which is where it was held, and I had the first place trophy in my hand, and I won $200 just because, and I was like, oh, I'm on top of the world. I got my cowboy hat on the plane, like I was fearless, and I ended up going back home and back to doing dishes and picking up dog poop, and I was like, oh great, I hit rock bottom again, It's like, wow, I was on top of the world and now I'm back. And then I ended up getting a phone call within the week, and it was from this couple in Dallas, Texas. And they said, we saw you at AMTC, we really liked you. We're having a 50th anniversary. There's going to be about 200 people. And we'd love for you to come. We'll pay your way and we'll give you $350. And I was like, whoa, 3 digits. That was a big deal. And so I took it. And so my grandpa drove me, and I was practicing my whole 12 minutes of jokes all the way there. And when I got there, it wasn't like 200 people I thought. It was 200 elderly people with canes and wheelchairs and hearing aids, and I don't know if they were all there. I don't know how they just looked confused, and it was just 50th year anniversary, and so I was like, okay, they'll get the George Bush jokes, and I went up there and I started my routine, and after the first 2 jokes, I realized that maybe they couldn't hear me or they don't like me, and so I was just getting like these dead, no responses. And so 12 minutes of material got cut down to 4, and I felt like and I ended up walking off the stage after, one joke that barely got a laugh, and I was like, all right, well, thank you very much, and I walked off, and I felt so bad. I felt like I failed the people that brought me in, and they still paid me and everything. I didn't even want the money. I was like, just take it. It's dirty money. I didn't, and I ended up taking it out on the way home. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, maybe that talent competition was just a fluke, or it was just a whole different world than the real world. And that was my first encounter with, let's say, a failure, so to speak, in the speaking industry. And I've had many beforehand in the basketball court, but in the speaking industry, that was my first failure. And I didn't like it, and I couldn't stand it, and it really stung, and it halted me for about like 4 or 5 months. And I didn't want to do my George Bush impression for anybody. And finally, I got the courage. My friend and I were at work, and he started talking about George Bush, and I was like, okay. And I started doing an impression. I was like, hey, you want to hear an impression? He goes, yeah, go ahead. And I did it. And I don't know what I said. Basically, I was like, I don't know much about Obamacare except that Obama doesn't care. And he's like, whoa, that was good. And so we started, and he started really motivating me and encouraging me. And I ended up going into my school, and I said, hey, I do George Bush impression, and they filmed me at school, and I got to do a broadcast to the entire high school as the president about going to the cafeteria and voting. And so that brought me out again. And it was all because, that failure halted me, and it really did. And even though my parents wouldn't say it's a failure, they couldn't hear you, and I took it personal. I said they just didn't like me, and it really, really cut me. And so after I got on my feet again, and I started speaking across the country with Eric Swanson and his Universal Seminars. I had 2 or 3 speeches that went absolutely well, and it's the same speech. And then I went to LA, did the same speech, and it was just not the same, and not the same response. And I got dead, laughs and after I got out of that speech and was still happy and poised, and it didn't bother me like it's just somebody out here that needed to hear me. It's not about the laughs. It's about giving people an opportunity to laugh, and if they don't take it, okay, it's just whatever. And I didn't take it personal. And after that, I felt like I had finally, overcome that first step of that failure, about that not taking anything personal and not getting offended when it doesn't go your way. And it took about that was a year and a half journey just to learn that. And I know I have so many more to go, and it's going to take forever to get stronger in that area. But sometimes you win, and sometimes you learn, and that's just how I've really feeling. I did not like failure, and it still stings, but it's necessary.